Well, I think that today is a perfect day to take out my masking tape. I've got two different widths here, and I'm quite keen to make some quick washi tape, just using the color of the masking tape, which is a nice sort of vintage color, and yeah, just some black ink. I'm going to be working with floral images, so I've got these lovely acrylic stamps here that I'm going to use. Let me show you this way. I've got the black outlines. I hope you're not getting too much reflection from the light. And we've got these little ones which can intersperse. Then I have these lovely ones, very simple lines. And then lastly, I have these sprigs of flowers. And in between, I'm just going to intersperse some text stamp. It could be any text stamp that you might have. It doesn't really matter. So let's begin. The first thing you're going to need is just some baking paper. This generally has a slightly waxy feel to it. It's maybe just got a thin layer of wax or a thin layer of silicone, depending on where you are. But this gives quite a nice substrate for us to be able to use to stick our masking tape on, because we want to be able to remove our masking tape off this once we've actually finished. And I'm going to just use a tiny little bit of the narrower masking tape just to secure my baking paper down so it doesn't wiggle around while I'm trying to talk to you. I love masking tape, it's just so versatile, isn't it? So I'm just going to use this on the corners just to try and alleviate the wiggling, but there might still be some. Let's see how we go. I don't know how your day's been, but my day here started off beautiful. Lovely sunshine and all the rest of it, and it's gradually hazed over, so I'm not sure if we're in for a little bit of rain. Anyway, we'll see. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to alternate widths of masking tape. I'm going to try and do a length across the board and tear it, and don't worry about the fact that this won't be as long as traditional masking tape. It doesn't matter. It is a bit noisy, I'm sorry. I'm going to leave little gaps in between, because on this baking paper, once I start stamping, there'll be some images that will overlap, and I might be able to use that in some of my mixed media projects. So because I've secured the edge of my baking paper down, if I use my fingers just to gently rub this onto the baking paper as I roll towards the end, I should be able to get a reasonable line. And when I get to the end, I'm just going to tear. So I'm going to repeat that now, and I will fill up this whole board with the paper. Now we've reached the fun part where we're actually going to do some of the stamping, and don't be alarmed if your masking tape is not sitting down 100% on your baking paper. That's just part of the nature of the baking paper. It's got a little bit of a resist so that our food doesn't stick. You can always just rectify that once you've rolled it up. So I'm going to start off with some of my bigger images, and I quite like some of these, so let me just take these off. And I'll make them all a little bit different. It's a lovely way to be able to use your stamps that you've had lying in a drawer and you haven't used for ages. So I'm using the VersaFine ink pad here, and I'm already messy. That's just me. I'm so messy, really. Can't help it. I've got a friend in South Africa. She's just amazing. She never gets a drop of paint on her at all, and my granddaughter, I must say, is a bit like that. So although this little one that I'm stamping now is slightly out of focus, I'm going to just repeat it, doing almost a shadow print. So I'm going to have some dark and some lighter, and we will just enjoy them for what they are. Right, so I'm going to move some of these other ones out of the way for now. I'm going to do one more with this stamp, and then I'm going to change to a different one. So let's do this one about here, and then I'll do another one down the bottom, I think, and this one. Great. So I'm now going to just continue using my stamps to fill up all of this masking tape with some images. So the last step of process that I have done just before I take this off the baking sheet is that I've just used some hairspray and quickly sprayed over this, because the stamp pad I was using was A, brand new, so it was very wet, and secondly it was a pigment stamp pad which does sometimes want to smudge. So I have coated all the surfaces now with a coating of hairspray, which pretty much acts like fixative, and I've allowed it to dry. So now I'm going to roll it up and I'll show you what it looks like in a second. I've got a cardboard tube here. This is just the inside of a roll, and I'm just wrapped it around with some baking paper and I've sealed with masking tape, and now I'm just gently going to adhere my homemade washi tape to this, and so it'll be ready to go whenever I need it. Very pleased with how these have turned out.